Welcome to Odds.com's NCAA basketball coverage for Thursday, March 11th with our expert, Maxwell Smart. Max, you are coming off the roughest day we've ever seen you have here working with us, and it's tough. The roller coaster ride is dangerous at times, but you've had such an exceptional season that you still have a great record overall. How are you doing today?
Well, now it's not exceptional. So, unfortunately, that's gambling for you. You play the numbers, you don't play the teams. And if the players don't do what they're supposed to, that's just life. The bottom line is you're putting your money on children, and sometimes children don't behave. So they didn't behave. And as a volume better, I just have to move on and go again the next day. So I picked out games that I think that are going to be interesting and are probably the higher profile games that were available when lines came out. And I'm just going to put the last day behind me and just forget about it, like a dementia patient. So yep, ready to go.
Your overall record's still very good. 241 wins, 207 losses, hitting at 53.8%, up 14.9 units. ROI plus 3.33%. Average line minus 109. So let's get back to building W's. Max has picked out 8 games that he's attacking on this card, and 4 are early and 4 are late. We're going to start at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, Big 12 Tournament Quarterfinal. Number 12, Oklahoma State Cowboys, 18-7, 11-7 in conference. Versus number 10, West Virginia Mountaineers, 18-8, 11-6 in the Big 12. We're at T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. Let's move over here. We have the Bet365 opener at minus 2.5. They've moved that to minus 3. This total is at 151, almost across the board. A few books have added the half point. These teams just met in an 85-80 road win for Oklahoma State in the Big 12 regular season finale for both teams. Oklahoma was 10-point dogs, playing without their leading scorer, Cade Cunningham, and fourth leading scorer, Isaac Likely. There we go. Right, Max? Likely?
Yes.
Isaac Likely. Okay, there we go. They shot 57.9% from the field, and Avery Anderson went for a career-high 31 points, averaging just 11.1 on the season. He busted out without Cade having the ball in his hands the whole game. Cunningham injured his left ankle late in a loss to number 3 Baylor on Thursday. Likely also set out for the 6th time in 7 games with a hand injury. They are both expected to be back for this. Cunningham is the Big 12's leading scorer, considered by many as a potential number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft. Oklahoma State's now won 6 of 7. They score 76.7 points per game, hit 46.6% from the field, 33.8% from 3, and 71.1 from the foul line. The Mountaineers were out-hustled and out-rebounded in the loss to the Cowboys on Saturday. Now they get a chance to redeem themselves. They followed up their tight overtime loss at home to Baylor with a 76-67 win at home over TCU before the loss to Oklahoma State. They're a balanced squad, 4 players averaging double digits, led by Miles McBride, who averages 15.3 points, 4.7 assists, and 6'10" junior Derek Culver, who averages 14.8 points, 9.8 boards. The Mountaineers struggle at times from the field. They hit just 42.8% from the field, but 35.9 from 3 and 71.8% from the stripe. Max, 2 big, tough teams in the quarterfinal of the Big 12 tourney. Oklahoma State, West Virginia, take it away.
Yeah, Jim, with West Virginia, when does pride come into it? If you have any pride, then you're going to come back and you're going to win this game, and you're going to show Oklahoma State that even though they can spread you out, you can still move your feet, get into that paint, clog up those lanes, and deter some of those drivers. The fact that they lost to Oklahoma State without Cade Cunningham, without Isaac Likely, it definitely doesn't shine a big spotlight on this West Virginia team. And then just how Derek Culver was unable to be effective guarding in the pick and roll. I think that with West Virginia, if you're embarrassed, I think that you have to come back and you win this game. I think that you need a fast start and you need to be able to maintain it. First half scoring defense is going to be a real telltale sign of whether or not West Virginia is going to be able to take care of that or not. And listen, they got to get back to old school freaking West Virginia defense. Press, press, press. They got to win the turnover battle. They got to bring out Emmett Matthews. They got to put fellow Canadian Gabe Osabuoyan on the floor together, because you know what, with those two guys playing in your front court, even though they're undersized, they don't play like it, and you take away some of the liability that Derek Culver causes you. And against this type of opponent with Matthew Alexander Moncrief and Caleb Boone playing as well as he's playing, it's just a dangerous matchup. I think that this is a game where Coach Huggins comes out with a better game plan, something that we haven't seen, something fresh. And I think that we're going to see West Virginia do what they do well, play in big games on neutral courts and win in cash tickets. So free throw line is your friend, West Virginia. Get there often. I think that guys like Taz Sherman are going to be key. Jalen Bridges are going to be key. Jordan McCabe and his on-ball defense is going to be key. You know, you got a lot of guys that are capable of stepping up. It's just time to see if they can. So I'm looking at West Virginia in this spot, and if I can get anything 3 or better, I'll take it for a show pick right now.
-3 at -110. A couple of these books have moved it to 3.5, but we can get you the West Virginia Mountaineers -3, -110 on FanDuel. That's available also at Bet365, available also at Circa. The other books, Fox Bet and BetMGM, have moved it to 3.5. We move on, but we stay at the same time slot, and we stay in the Big 12 Tournament Quarterfinal. We have 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Michigan State Spartans, 15-11. I have Big 12 here. This is, the Big 10 Tournament Quarterfinal. Michigan State Spartans, 15-11, 9-11 in the Big 10. And Maryland Terrapins, 15-12, 9-11 in the Big 10. Lucas Oil Stadium, Indianapolis, Indiana. Michigan State, let's see what they are here. Opening up as 1.5-point dogs, now 1-point dogs. But as I say that, I see that the leading indicator offshores have moved Michigan State as 1-point favorites. This total sitting at 130.5. One book has moved, actually, 2 books have moved it down to 130. Michigan State closed out the regular season on a high note, winning the second half of a home-and-home with number 4 Michigan, 70-64 on Sunday. Michigan was ranked number 2 at the time. Rocket Watts scored 21 points. Aaron Henry added 18. Henry leads the Spartans with 15.5 points per game. The Spartans have won 5 of their last 7 games. They beat number 4 Ohio State, number 5 Illinois, and then number 2 Michigan in the span of 16 days. They hit 42.5% from the field, 32.2% from 3, 72.9% from the stripe. And Michigan State lost badly at Maryland, 73-55 back on February 28th. Maryland closed out the season in disappointing fashion, losing 60-55 at Northwestern as 4.5-point favorites, and then following that up with a 66-61 loss at home to Penn State on Sunday as 6-point favorites. They have 3 players averaging double digits, and Eric Ayala at 14.5, Aaron Wiggins at 14, Donta Scott at 11.2. Maryland has held opposing teams to 64.7 points per game, the second lowest figure among all Big Ten teams. They scored just 68.9 points per game, but that is due more to a slower pace. They only turned the ball over 11.2 times. They hit 45.8% from the field, 35.7 from 3, 70.1% from the line. Feels like 2 teams moving in opposite directions. Max, take us home here in the Big Ten, Michigan State, Maryland.
Yeah, I think with this Michigan State team, I think that they're better prepared for Maryland this time around than they were the first time out. I think that with Michigan State, obviously without a true point guard, you do need to make shots early and you need to have that good ball movement. What we've noticed with this Michigan State team without a true point guard is on made buckets, they are assisted by a teammate. So there is that team emphasis on getting the best shot, not who takes the shot. And I think that obviously the last time Aaron Henry and Josh Langford went up against this perimeter defense of Maryland, well, let's just say that Maryland did a very good job of effectively shutting them the fuck down. And when you go 7 for 29 from the field, well, you're not going to be able to freaking win any games. You're not going to get past 60 with this personnel. I think with Michigan State, they got to just play rock, fight, grind it out style, but they need to kill it on the glass. They need to stop Maryland from turning them over. And I think that when you look at it, you got to fucking hit some 3-point shots against this perimeter defense. This is a Maryland backcourt that really guards hard, really can take the ball away from you. And if you're going to freaking start running into charges that they set, well, you're going to be really shooting yourself in the dick. I think that when you look at it, though, Michigan State's a team that wants to get those high percentage looks. They want to get to the rim. They have the strength. They have the slashers and the dribble drivers to do it. It's going to be more a matter of what you get from guys like Julius Marble, AJ Hogger, Malik Hall. If you can get some adequate production, whether it be from a defensive standpoint or a scoring standpoint, I think that you're going to be in a much better position. With this game being on a neutral court, I think that Michigan State just needs to have a really good first half when it comes to their offense. And I think that if they shoot 33% again from the field and can't convert drives against Maryland, well, we're going to see another repeat. Ball security and winning on the glass is front and foremost, especially the offensive. I think that's one of the keys for Michigan State against what I would say is an undersized Maryland front court. And if they can make 3-point shots, they're going to be definitely in the front seat to win this game. The bubble definitely, I think, still plays a factor, even though they have these 3 wins. So I do think they're going to get up for this game. And this is where coaching wins. And if Tom Izzo wants to earn those dollars and earn that respect amongst the media, amongst fans, amongst other people in the profession, well, let's see you win this game, because this game counts more than any of those other games you just won. So I like Michigan State here, Jim. I'll take the best number you can get me.
And apologies, this is the Big Ten tournament second round, not the quarterfinals. My mistake. Max, they're all over the place. The books are all over the place. You can get them. You can get Michigan State plus 1.5 at minus 115. You can get Michigan State plus 100 on the money line. I guess those are the best 2 options we have for you. Let's see what. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Circa at plus 1.5 at minus 110 is the best.
Yeah, plus 1.5 minus 110 at Circa is fine for me, please.
Plus 1.5 at minus 110 available at Circa Sports. Big Ten tourney second round, Michigan State, Maryland. And we move on to the SEC second round, 12 p.m. Eastern. Mississippi State Bulldogs 14-13, 8-10 in conference. First, Kentucky Wildcats 9-15. 8-9 in conference. Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee is where this goes down. Kentucky opening up as 2.5-point favorites at Bet365. That's moved to 3.5 right across the board. This total is sitting at 131, but a couple of books have moved it up. We see a couple 131.5s and one 132. Mississippi State closed out their season losing 2 of 3. They most recently lost 78-71 at Auburn on Saturday. Tolu Smith finished with 20 points, 9 boards for the Bulldogs, who move on to the conference tournament. DJ Stewart Jr. added 19, Iverson Molinar 17. Those 3 all averaged double digits, led by DJ Stewart Jr. 16.5, followed closely by Molinar 16.4. They hit 45.5% from the field, 34.9 from 3, but struggle at the stripe, just 64.1% from the foul line. Kentucky snapped a 2-game losing streak in their final game of the regular season, blowing out South Carolina 92-64. Davion Mintz and Brandon Boston Jr. both set career highs with 6 3-pointers apiece. Mintz finished with 20. Boston finished with 21. Mintz added 7 assists to that, by the way. Kentucky finished with its first losing record in the SEC since 1989. Mintz, Boston, Olivier Sarr, and Keon Brooks all averaged double digits for Kentucky. They struggle with their shot at times, 41.7% from the field, 33.2% from 3, and 73.4% from the foul line. Max, we head over to the SEC, Mississippi State, Kentucky.
Jim, what a lot of people don't realize probably just because Mississippi State isn't the most aesthetically pleasing team to watch, is that they can match up with Kentucky on every level. They have the same kind of length. They have the same kind of guard play and athleticism there. And I think that they are going to be able to stay in this game. When I look at Mississippi State, obviously their free throw shooting leaves a lot to be desired, and that could be the determining factor. But I think that they're going to make up those free throw misses from the 3-point line. I think that they're going to do a fantastic job of getting on the offensive glass, because that is something that Kentucky doesn't do a expert job of limiting their opponents. I think that when you look at Mississippi State, they got to be able to change their pace and tempo of their offense. And that's going to be key, because with Kentucky, you have a lot of length. That means that a lot of driving lanes are going to be cut off. But if Mississippi State can get off to a better start and they can exploit some of that first half defense that Kentucky's been plagued by, I think that this is a group that can make the better second half adjustments, going to double overtime with them, blowing a lead last time out, probably has a little bit of resentment. You are going to see a little bit of a different rotation without Jalen Johnson, I believe, playing. I think he's still injured. But this is just a lot of size, whether it be Javion Davis, whether it be Quentin Post, Tulu Smith, Abdullah Du, like all these guys are big. And what I've definitely been concerned about when it comes to Kentucky is just, can they freaking make the right shot at the right time? Can they avoid those turnovers in the second half in the last 5 minutes? And if it's a close game, can they close it out? Because that's been their Achilles heel. I think that when you look at Mississippi State, without them leaving points at the free throw line and getting a little 2-3-point happy, the defensive glass is going to be an area of advantage. They have to be more aggressive on ball handlers. They have to try and take the ball away from Kentucky and not let them just run their offense and run their pick and roll and getting guys to the rim. I think that if you can do better than you have on a neutral court, this is just a bad number for Kentucky. If you were saying Kentucky 2.5, I'd be on them. But once you get to 3.5, this is a conference tournament game. I don't think Mississippi State is going to give up if they're behind. And if they can hit some threes, well, they can backdoor this game. Maybe win the game outright, in my opinion. But I think that Mississippi State's taking care of business, and I'll take the best line that you can get me, Jim.
FoxBet offering the plus 3.5 at plus 100. That is the best spread we can give you. Is that what you want?
Yeah, please.
Plus 3.5 at plus 100 for the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Let's lock that in right now. Plus 3.5 at plus 100 in the SEC tournament. We move on to the ACC Tournament Quarterfinal. This one's going to be a beauty. Syracuse Orange, 16-8, 9-7 in conference. The number 16 Virginia Cavaliers, 17-6, 13-4 in the ACC. We're at Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina. Let's see what we are dealing with here. Virginia opening up as 5-point favorites. That hasn't moved. One book has added a hook to it. The total at 133 right across the board. No movement there. Syracuse closed out the regular season in impressive fashion, defeating North Carolina and Clemson to halt a 2-game losing streak, then carried that over in an easy 89-68 win over NC State today. We're shooting this. It's almost midnight here on Wednesday night. They shot 56.7% from the field, 48.3% from three. Buddy Boeheim, 27 points, 6 for 12 from three. He leads the team, averaging 16 points per game. Alan Griffin, Quincy Guerrier, Marek Dolezaj, all average double digits, and Joseph Girard right there with 9.6 points per game. They score 75.6 points per game. They only turn the ball over 11.3 times a game, and that's something that Virginia does very well as well. Virginia only turns the ball over 9.3 times a game. But Syracuse, 43.6% from the field, 33.1% from three, and 78.5% from the foul line. Virginia snapped a surprising 3-game losing streak with a win at home over Miami and then a win at Louisville on Saturday night. Both wins were by double digits. The Cavaliers shoot the ball well, and they play strong defense, allowing just 60.1 points per game. They have 3 players averaging double digits, led by Sam Hauser at 15.8 points per game. He also hits 44.4% from three. They only turn the ball over 9.3 times a game, hit 48.1 from the field, 38.6 from three, and 81.2 from the foul line. They shoot nice. Max, this is going to be a beauty. ACC Tournament Quarterfinal, Syracuse, Virginia. Take it away.
Well, Jim, I'm not hoping for a beauty. I don't like beauties. I like boring games where you know the outcome from like minute 7 to about minute 38 and a half. You know, this Virginia team, they handled, they throttled, they served a nice cold bowl of something, you know, to this Syracuse Orange. And I think that with Syracuse, you know, they shoot a lot of threes. They got an outlier performance from Buddy Boeheim today. Yeah, they look good. Yeah, they're on the bubble right now. They're in the tournament, says Jerry Palm. But every bracketologist has a different opinion. And I think that they're just running into a Virginia team that they just don't match up well against. It's hard for them to get good shots against the pack line defense. It's hard for them to freaking make threes against the quality of defense that you're going to get on the perimeter from guys like Trey Murphy and Sam Hauser. I think that when you look at Virginia, their offense is very hard to stop. They have to make shots early. They have to open up that 3-point line. And with their multiple ball handlers that they're running out there at the same time, I think that they're going to be able to do that. I like the fact that Tony Bennett is really doing a good job of instilling, well, listen, offensive rebound really isn't important for us. What we have to do is get back. We have to stop any kind of transition opportunities. And every time someone wants to come into the paint and drive to the rim, they're going to have 3 or 4 hands trying to swipe and grab at the ball as they dribble in. I think that's been key. With Jay Huff in the middle, you know, he just is the perfect anchor for this team. He can move side to side very well. His lateral quickness is definitely underrated. And then at the point guard position, that's where I think that the biggest advantage for Virginia is. With Kihei Clark, listen, Kaderi Richmond may have a size advantage on him, but he's not going to be able to stay with him from a quickness perspective. Kie is going to be able to take him off the dribble whenever he wants. Same thing with Joe Girard. Maybe a smaller height advantage, but I definitely think that with Kihei Clark and his ability to go to the left side, he's going to be able to take Joe Girard whenever the hell he wants. So what needs to happen for Kihei to be in a position to take those attempts and those possessions on offense is for freshman Reese Beekman to be contributing, to be effective, and to not be turning the ball over. This is a kid that, while his 3-point shot definitely leaves a lot to be desired, his ball IQ, his facilitation, and his general leadership on the floor is what is needed most. If he can facilitate some buckets early for his teammates and allow Kie to play off the ball at times, I think that Virginia is winning this game and covering this number. I don't like the matchup for Syracuse. I love Quincy Guerriere. He is a fantastic Canadian product. We have a hoops factory up here in Canada, Jim, but I'm taking the freaking Wahoos. I got my Virginia shirt in the laundry. It'll be clean for tomorrow, and I'll be wearing it. And I may be smacking my Syracuse hat around with my backhand.
I like it. Let's lock you in with the best number that we can find. I saw these two teams play in person in the NCAA tournament in the Elite Eight in Chicago at the United Center when it looked like Virginia, they were the number 1 seed, were going to roll into the Final Four. And it was one of the biggest comebacks I've ever seen when Syracuse came back from double digits in the last 2 minutes. It was very, very, very memorable. And I think this game probably won't be as glorious. So Virginia juiced at FanDuel. Let's see what BetMGM can give us here.
Jim. Yeah. I hope that you hold on to that memory close and tight, because it's not repeating itself tomorrow.
Actually, it wasn't a very good memory because I had a 4-game parlay that was going to easily pay for the whole trip, pay for everything, and it just needed Virginia to close it up. And
you left that part out.
Yeah, so it wasn't. It was a very memorable game, and it was an incredibly fun trip. But my trip wasn't paid for. Okay, let's see. We see 5.5s now on the board. The only 5 is at -116. Why is Circa not offering us up this Virginia? Maybe they were waiting too late to put the lineup. It's not available right now at Circa, surprisingly. So we don't have a lot of options. Can Bet365 help us, possibly? Yes, they can. -5 at -110. Wow, that's a rarity with Bet365 giving us the best line. Virginia Cavaliers -5 at -110. Okay, we move on. And that concludes the 4 early games on Max's card. We move over to the night games. And we start at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, Big Ten tournament second round. Indiana Hoosiers 12-14, 7-12 in conference versus Rutgers Scarlet Knights 14-10, 10-10 in conference. We're at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. See what we are dealing with for this spot. Rutgers opening up as 2-point favorites. That's moved to 3. This total opened up at 131.5, and it's all over the map. There's 132s. But the leading indicator books have moved it down to 130. Indiana closed out the season in ugly fashion, losing 5 straight. They're coming off a 67-58 loss at Purdue on Saturday. The last 3 losses came with second leading scorer Armaan Franklin out of the lineup with a heel injury. He's been downgraded to doubtful for this game against Rutgers. They faced Rutgers twice this year. They lost both. They're led by 6'9" sophomore Trace Jackson Davis, who averages 19.1 points, 9 boards a game. They score 70.5 points. They hit 43.5% from the field, 33.1% from 3, and just 67.1% from the line. Rutgers closed the season winning 2 of 3. Their final game was a 77-70 overtime win at Minnesota. Jacob Young led the way, 23 points, 7 assists, 5 boards. He's averaging 14.5 points on the season, just behind their leader, Ron Harper Jr. at 15.3. Geo Baker is the other Scarlet Knight who averages double digits at 10.2. It was the 4th Big Ten road win. That's the most for the Scarlet Knights in 7 years in the league. Miles Johnson added 9 points, 15 boards. Montez Mathis scored 12. Baker scored 12. They're looking for their first NCAA tournament invitation since 1991. They would have had one last year had we not been stopped by the pandemic. They score 70.4 points per game, hit 45.2% from the field, 31.6 from 3, and they struggle from the foul line, hitting just 62.4%. Max, we head back to the Big Ten. Hoosiers, Scarlet Knights, take it away.
Yeah, Jim, listen, those Rutgers Scarlet Knights, they're a nice group. They play in, I would say, a somewhat questionable state when it comes to character. But Rutgers, what they do well, Jim, they got depth. They got heart. They got great coaching. They got a very good and large advantage against multiple areas of strength for this Indiana team. I think that when you don't have a guy like Armaan Franklin, I think that hurts this Indiana team. I think that when you look at their roster, you don't really want to be relying on guys like Race Thompson and Allyman Durham and Rob Finisi to be your complementary scorers to Trace Jackson Davis. Armaan Franklin was the guy that emerged out of that internal backcourt competition in the preseason and basically freaking said, hey, Christian Lander, you got really good hair. I like how you look, but I'm taking your spot and your freshman ass is sitting behind me. Well, now this is an opportunity for Rutgers to take advantage of that. You're taking out a 45% three-point shooter possibly. And with Trace Jackson Davis, as great as he is as operating on the low block, facing you up or backing you down, I just don't think that it's enough to freaking win you a game. I've rarely seen him be able to put up those 36, 38, 40-point performances. I think he's only put up one that I can remember off the top of my head. And I just think that this Rutgers team has their personnel figured out. Montez Mathis is best coming off the bench. Caleb McConnell, while at first with his size, is a matchup disadvantage for a lot of teams. I don't think that you can use that here. So he's better coming off the bench. And listen, with Geo Baker, he's just got to take those Kobe shots. He loves the Kobe shot. And if he can hit the Kobe shot, he's going to hit us a winner. I want Rutgers in this spot, Jim. I think that Rutgers matches up well with this Indiana team. They won at Indiana's home gym. If they score 70 plus, they're winning this game. They got multiple guys that can beat you. They got multiple key frontline players that can protect the rim, rebound the basketball. Cliff Amori, with his length and wingspan, is going to be freaking unstoppable. And as long as Rutgers avoids being overconfident and gets going early offensively, and they don't fall in love with the three-point shot, of course, I just think that they're going to be able to attack the rim frequently, convert more than they miss, hold their own on the glass, and with the guards crashing to get rebounds too, this Rutgers team just freaking makes you smile. I think that they win the turnover battle, and they have a good time playing on a neutral court. So give me Rutgers. They're going to freaking take care of business against Indiana for me one more time.
Rutgers Scarlet Knights -3 at -110, available at Circus Sports. We've seen it move to 3.5 at a couple of these books that we're using, the legal licensed books in America, but we can find them at -3 at -110. Max moves on to 7 p.m. Eastern. We go back to the SEC. Second round action, Georgia Bulldogs 14-11, 7-11 in conference versus Missouri Tigers 15-8, 8-8 in conference. We're at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. Let's pull this up right now. Missouri opening up as 5.5-point favorites. They've now moved to 6. It's 6 right across the board. This total sitting at 153.5. A couple books have moved it to 154. Georgia closed out the regular season losing 3 of 4 and 3 straight. Or excuse me, I should say 2 straight. Losing 3 of 4 and 2 straight. The last 2 were double-digit losses at home to South Carolina and Alabama. Georgia has 3 players averaging double figures, starting with sophomore point guard Severe Wheeler at 14 points, 7.2 assists, freshman Katie Johnson at 13.6, and 6'8" Belgian sophomore Tumani Kamara at 12.8 points, 7.6 boards. Georgia scores a healthy 77.8 points per game, but they allow 78.2. They turn the ball over way too much, 16.8 of them a game. They had 45.9% from the field, 31.8 from 3, and 69% from the stripe. Missouri closed out their season with their 5th loss in 7 games, an 86-80 home setback to LSU. Drew Smith led Mizzou with 17 points. Xavier Pinson went for 14. Smith and Pinson lead the team in scoring with 14.1 points and 14 points. 6'10", 260-pound senior Jeremiah Tillman averages 12.5 points, 7.4 boards. Rounding out the double-digit scores is Mark Smith at 10 points per game. They score 74.1 points per game. They hit 45.1% from the field, 31.9 from 3, and 69.7 from the foul line. Max, we're back in the SEC. Georgia, Missouri, take it away.
Yeah, Jim, this is a real tough spot, and I think that it's going to be a real entertaining game to watch. And hopefully, at the end of it, we got some money, extra money in our accounts afterwards. When I look at Missouri, Jim, this is a spot where they got some revenge against these Georgia Bulldogs because they had one of the most forgettable second halves of their season where they allowed 47 points en route to one of their losses. I think that with Missouri, listen, 3-point defense is critical, and you got to be able to defend on the perimeter without fouling. What we've seen for this Georgia team, and especially from Severe Wheeler, is that he really does a great job of deciding when he's going to go to the rim or when he's going to freaking find one of his teammates. And with a guy like Kamara that's able to play physical inside and really really get through any kind of resistance that you present for him getting offensive rebounds. It's a tough group, and you're going to have to be on point offensively. I think that with Missouri, they definitely have the front court pieces on paper that should be able to squash some of this Georgia bounciness, I would call it. But Georgia, listen, they may have lost 3 out of their last 4, but they're a stingy team. And with Missouri, they're going to need a first half lead against them. They're going to obviously have to really control Severe Wheeler from him controlling the pace and tempo of this game. The faster this game is, the worse it's going to be. This is a very efficient offensive Missouri team, one of the top in the nation. So they don't need a ton of shots to get points, where we can't really say the same about Georgia. I think that as long as Missouri, through Jeremiah Tillman, through Mitchell Smith, through Kobe Brown, can limit some of their exposure on the glass, I think that is going to get them the tempo that they want. I think it's going to limit the possessions of Georgia to a number they feel comfortable with. And listen, with Missouri, you got to do fundamental things right. We've seen them get out to good leads and blow games and cost us money. So winning the turnover battle and ball security is front and foremost. If they're able to do this, this is a point range where I feel very comfortable laying the points with Missouri, that I'm going to go with them one more time. I think that they play a full 40 minutes and they show Georgia, listen, you may have put up 47, but this is conference tournament time. We got bigger plans. You're going to go play golf, and we're going to cover the 6 points.
A couple of these books have moved it to 6.5. FanDuel hasn't. So you still have the 6 there. Let's see if we can do any better. No, BetMGM has moved it to 6.5 as well. And Fox Bet. No. Okay, so we can give you a -6 at -110 available at FanDuel. How's that sound?
Jim, sounds good to me.
We lock that in. We move on to 2 late games that Max is attacking. The first one, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we head to the SEC tournament second round. South Carolina Gamecocks 6-14, 4-12 in conference. There's Ole Miss Rebels 15-10, 10-8 in conference. We're in Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee for this one. Let's see what we've got here. And this is at 9:30. What I thought it was strange that it would be just 2 hours after the Georgia-Missouri game. So maybe it is at 9:30.
Yeah, it is at 9:30, Jim.
Okay.
But it's being played at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville.
Yeah, they're both at Bridgestone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I said it was like it did make sense. It'd be 2 hours after the Georgia-Missouri game.
Well,
okay.
In Mississippi, they don't have to wear masks, so they probably aren't cleaning the court as they are in other states between games. So, see how that goes.
Here we go. South Carolina, Ole Miss. We have South Carolina opening up as 7-point dogs. That's gone to 7.5 at a couple books. This total at 140.5 at most books. A couple have moved it up a half point to 141. South Carolina snapped a 6-game losing streak with a surprise 91-70 win at Georgia on February 27th. Any hopes of them closing the season strong faded quickly. They lost their final 2 games at home to Arkansas and at Kentucky, each by 28 points. They are led in scoring by A.J. Lawson, who averages 16.9 points. Second is Keyshawn Bryant, 14.4 points per game. Third leading scorer and point guard Jermaine Couisnard, averaging 10.1 points, 3.2 assists. Hurt his ribs against Arkansas. Missed the Kentucky game, and he is listed as questionable to go in this one. South Carolina scores 73.2 points per game. Their defense very weak, 79.3 points they allow. South Carolina struggles with their shot. They hit just 41.8% from the field, 30.8% from 3, and 65.2 from the foul line. Ole Miss closed out their regular season nice, winning 2 straight, 3 of 4. Their last 2 were home victories over Kentucky and Vanderbilt. They're led by senior Devontae Shuler, who scores 15.6 points, 3.3 assists. The Rebels score 68.7 points per game with a strong defense that allows just 63.1. They hit 44.2% from the field, but they struggle mightily from the perimeter. just 29.7%, and their average at the line hitting 69.5%. Max, here we go. SEC tournament second round, South Carolina, Ole Miss.
Yeah, Jim, I'm liking the SEC, and I like Ole Miss in this spot. You know why? Because when they eat their pancakes, they use dark maple syrup. Listen, what I know about Ole Miss Rebels are that when they eat their pancakes and they want that dark maple syrup, listen, they'll freaking bootleg it. They'll freaking traffic it. They'll do whatever they got to do to get on that black market and get it. And I can respect that. Sure. And you know what else I can respect, Jim? I can respect the fact that this South Carolina team is going to be very different if they don't have Jermaine Couisnard. Jermaine Couisnard and Trey Hannibal are very capable three-point shooters for the South Carolina team and are both three-point shooters that are capable of getting off early and setting the tone for the South Carolina offense. The problem is they're going up against the Ole Miss team that wants to play and keep this at a snail's pace, a rock fight. And I think that Ole Miss, with their personnel, with their coaching advantage with Kermit Davis over Frank Martin, I think that's going to be a definite catalyst in this game. I think that as long as Ole Miss can keep it ugly and slow the ball down and keep it slow as long as possible, convert your free throws, which is obviously a key with this team being the closest 75% free throw team. And listen, use a little pick and roll, you know. You got some very good drivers in Schuler and Joyner. Let them go to work and get their offense. And with the depth and the different mixes of matchups that you can present for your opponent with guys like KJ Buffin, with guys like Luis Rodriguez, with Matthew Morrell, the freshman, you know, you got a lot of guys, not even including guys like Romello White. So I think that with Ole Miss, as long as they do their part of limiting South Carolina's scoring opportunities, this is still a team that you can take out in the first half. There have been plenty of games that you've watched South Carolina this year where they've given up somewhere around 39 points in the first half. And if you're going to allow that to this Ole Miss team, well, I don't think that we're going to have to really have our asses clenched too long for it. We'll be able to enjoy some pancakes with some dark maple syrup and possibly another winner. So, Jim, I'll take the best number that you can get on Ole Miss because they're going to be efficient with their three-point attempts. They're going to own the defensive glass, and they are not going to succumb to any South Carolina Gamecocks ball pressure.
Well, let's see what we can get you because these main books have moved it to 7.5. We have two books that are still hanging a 7, but it's juiced. Let's see, can Bet365 come in late and save the day here? Well, they have the least amount of juice. So Circa and FanDuel have moved it to 7.5, minus 110. And then Fox Bet, BetMGM, and Bet365 are at 7, minus 118, minus 116, and minus 115, respectively. So would you like minus 7 to minus 115 or minus 7.5 to minus 110?
I'll take the 7 at minus 115.
All right. Ole Miss, minus 7, minus 115 is available at Bet365. We move on to Max's last game on his card, and it's a beauty. 9:30 p.m. Eastern, Big 12 quarterfinal. Number 20th ranked Texas Tech Raiders. Red Raiders. 17-9, 9-8 in the Big 12. And number 13, Texas Longhorns. 17-7, 11-6 in conference. We're at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. And this is going to be a beauty. Texas Tech opening up as 1.5-point favorites at Bet365. That hasn't moved. 1.5 across the board. This total opened up at 136.5. It's dropped a point to 135.5. Texas Tech had their 3-game winning streak snapped in a 88-73 loss at Baylor on Sunday. Baylor gashed them for 88 points, but defense was their hallmark this year. This Raiders squad allowed just 63.3 points per game, led offensively by junior guard Mac McClung, who averages 16.1 points per game. They have 3 other players averaging double digits, and Terrence Shannon Jr. at 12.5, Kyler Edwards 10.2, and Kevin McCullough at 10.1. They have 44.5% from the field, 34.6 from the line, or excuse me, from 3. Got that wrong there. From 3, and 71.4% from the line. Texas closed out their regular season winning 3 straight and 4 of 5. The 3-game winning streak came in impressive road victories. Well, Iowa State sucks, but Iowa State, Oklahoma, and TCU. Like Texas also has 4 players averaging double digits, and Andrew Jones at 14.9, Courtney Ramey at 13.6, Matt Coleman at 12.4, and Greg Brown at 10.3. They hit 45.2% from the field, 35.2% from 3, and 70.1% from the foul line. Max, Big 12 quarterfinal, Texas Tech, Texas.
Jim, this has been a real rough ride for the Longhorns versus the Red Raiders. And I think that with Texas Tech, it's pretty easy to see why. Chris Beard's the coach of Texas Tech, and he's one of the top 5 coaches in the nation. He inspires his players. He's a player's coach. He's a really good X's and O's type guy. He can design a play in a timeout that freaking wins you games, and we've seen him do it. So, I think that there has to be confidence with this Texas Tech team, and hopefully they're so confident that they come out and they shoot flat. They miss shots on front rim. They hit shots off back. I think that when you look at Texas Tech, they got to get a good performance from everybody, or they got to get a outlier performance from Mac McClung. That's been the pattern that I noticed from the box scores. In a game where Kyler Edwards is going to go off, you could probably expect McClung to be more in a less dominant, less viewable role. I think that with Marco Santos Silva, as great as he's been down low at converting, at scoring points, he has left so many at the free throw line, and eventually that is going to come back to haunt this team. And with Texas, with them losing both games, it doesn't matter how good a defense this team plays, Texas Tech still seems to be able to pull the rug over their eye. I don't know how you don't take advantage of the size that you have with the Longhorns, but as good as this guard play is from Andrew Jones, from Courtney Ramey, from Matt Coleman, like you said, Jim, we need to see Greg Brown, 5-star Greg Brown, give us a Greg Brown 5-star performance. I want to see something like Sharif Cooper can give. And if you get that from Texas, then you're going to win this game tomorrow. I don't think that Texas Tech is going to win the third one. I'm taking Texas. I think that I'll take Texas on the money line. Screw the points. I think it's Greg Brown time, Jim. I think it's Greg Brown time. And he's going to brown it up for us.
Let's see what I can give you, because plus 1.5 bet 365, no money line. Plus 2 at Circa, no money line. We have just a plus 100 at Fox Bet. That's probably not enough. Let's see what I can get for you at FanDuel. Plus 106. That's a little better. And can BetMGM come in and save the day? They're plus 105.
Yeah, I'll take the plus 106, Jim.
Plus 106 for the Longhorns. That's going to be a fun one to end Max's card. Plus 106 available at FanDuel, and that ties everything up for our NCAA basketball expert, Maxwell Smart. We start at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, Big 12. He is on the West Virginia Mountaineers -3 at -110. Then in the Big 10, he's on the Michigan State Spartans plus 1.5 at -110. Then in the SEC, he's on Mississippi State Bulldogs plus 3.5 at plus 100. Got to figure out what book that was that offered that one up. So I had that in front of me. Then we have Virginia Cavaliers -5 at -110. Then we head over to the Big 10. Max is on Rutgers Scarlet Knights at -3 at -110. That's available. Circa, I'll be jumping on that one with you. Then he's on the Missouri Tigers -6 at -110, available at FanDuel. Then he moves on Ole Miss Rebels -7 at -115. And we close up shop with a big one, number 13th ranked Texas Longhorns plus 106 on the money line in Kansas City, Missouri. Does that all sound right, Max?
Yes, sir, it does.
There you have it. And if I know anything about our college basketball expert, Maxwell Smart, is that he bounces back. And sometimes the roller coaster goes down. And when it does, It starts climbing right away. I expect a big bounce back performance from our Maxwell Smart, who, after the toughest day we've ever seen him have in the 4 years I've been watching him, a 1-11 day, he is still 241 and 207, 53.8%, up 14.9 units, ROI plus 3.33%, average line minus 109. Max, good looking card tomorrow. Big marquee games all over the map. Do you have any last words for the great cappers supporting the show?
Listen, Jim, I'm a volume better, and my advice always is when I'm having a day like this, you bust out one of your 3 betting apps that you should have and be using, and you live bet. If you have to, send me a goddamn DM. I'll help you. But keep on supporting the show. And also remember, I'm a very angry person when I lose on my show picks. I actually took my anger out on my chair. I had to buy a new one. It's in pieces. It's in the garbage now. I have a new, comfier chair. But I'm not getting comfy. I'm hungry. I'm a dog. I don't like going under the bridge for multiple hand jobs, bringing my hand battery warmer, my hand warmer that is powered by batteries. You know, it is embarrassing to walk down the street. People walking their dogs, they're like, oh, Max, you lost again. You're going under the bridge to get some hand jobs. I'm like, yeah, that's what I can afford tonight. Not tomorrow. I'm going indoors, Jim. Let's get those winners.
I believe in you, Max. No homeless hand jobs for our Maxwell Smart tomorrow. On behalf of Maxwell Smart and myself, everybodyodds.com, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your support. And let's heat up now. ASAP.